Hi, my name is Dana Arnett, co-host of Wicked Marketing, along with my partner, Carlos Sapene. You can find more information about us and our business on LinkedIn, or if you have any questions, email us at info@wickedbionic.com. Subscribe to Wicked Marketing on Apple Podcasts and write an awesome review for us. We're also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Play. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Carlos.
And I'm Dana, and welcome to our podcast today. We are so fortunate. We have a great treat for you entrepreneurs. Our guest today is Lori Lippincott. She's the creator of a very fun and new business called Leashes by Lori. It came out of her passion for animals. And Lori isn't a stranger to entrepreneurship. She and her husband, Kirk, raised 3 beautiful boys, now men, and started a small family business a number of years ago, raising grass-fed beef. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you, Dana, very much. And Carlos?
So glad to have you. And we have so many listeners that are entrepreneurs and have started or looking to start a business. And, tell us why designing and creating leashes. Where did that come from, Lori?
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. It's a huge opportunity for a small business to be on a podcast such as yours. We started a little bit. We've been doing entrepreneurship for our whole lives, basically. So this kind of came about. Most of our business model is based on something that's useful, desired, and affordable. So, and basically it's something that we use and we can be proud of and can stand behind. Yeah. Anyway, the leashes started with something that I've done for about 8 years now. It's a working dog thing called Schutzen. It's a sport. And the dogs are quite, it's a 3-phase sport. The dogs are quite involved in drive building exercises. So force on our equipment is very high. So we needed something that's very strong and has a great grip. So we don't.
Lori, give us an example of what the training is all about. So you've got German Shepherds, right? Is it only German Shepherds out there you're training?
We only have Shepherds, but it's open to many breeds, actually. It's it's a 3-phase sport involving tracking. So it's scent work for detecting or tracking scent in the ground. Kind of like search and rescue, sort of, but along the same lines, scent work. And then the next phase is obedience. And that is total control of the dog in a great, positive working relationship. So you truly are partners in what you're doing. They trust you and you trust them. And then the third phase is protection, which kind of what you see in police work. So the German Shepherd, especially other dogs as well, they were born and bred and originated in Germany to provide police protection and to do work that way. So we continue with that in our work. And these dogs are controlled in their work, kind of what you see with the police doing, sort of controlled in their work. So they're just not like, loose cannons.
Free runners like my guys.
Well, they're very high level animals in their work. So what they do has to be done positive. They're also very social. I mean, you've seen my female Ibera. She lives in the house with us. She knows they're able to know they're not a loose cannon. They're able to know what's a good situation, what's not. And then they rely on myself or the handler as a partner to guide them into what their move should be or not be.
And that's why the leashes themselves. And so it's a very serious thing it came out of, because it's a very serious business, what you're doing in that way.
Absolutely.
As far as the training. Right. So I know the leashes was part of just your everyday experience around this business.
Right. Exactly. So when the dogs were teaching them, especially protection work, they're learning to have enough confidence and drive to actually grab we use a sleeve, a bite sleeve, or a tug, or in the real world, it would be a person. They have to be able to do that without any kind of holding back at all. So we have to be able to hold them on the leash
Right.
so everybody's safe and they can be successful in their work. Yes, so it has to be very strong.
And your leashes were then the idea, I would assume some of your early customers were people that you work with out in the field on with the dogs, correct?
Yes, actually, I got my first leash in a competition. It was something that we received in our competitor bags, and it was just fantastic. I was like, this is great. Where can I get another? I couldn't find any. So I've had it for about 5 years, that one leash, and finally kind of it looked like it was tattered and had been through some puppies that had bitten it and such. So I thought, I got to do this. I got to find this. This is the best I've seen through the last 7 or 8 years. So found the material and started making it myself. And then our club members saw it and liked it and wanted it as well. So I started making it for them. And then we had too many at our club that were the same color or whatever. We couldn't tell them apart. So I kind of tapped into my sewing and quilting, and I started doing some monogramming. So I have a separate embroidery machine that monograms on the leashes. So I've now been doing it for some companies and some trainers, and it is the most gratifying thing to go somewhere and see the leash, someone have it. It's just the best thing.
Well, and what led to the idea of personalization and monogramming? Like what was it that sort of triggered that? Because I'll tell you something. It just so happens that my younger cousin is a dog walker, right? And she was living with me for a while. And one of the things that I noticed with her was that she would have different leashes for different dogs, because some of them she had to walk closer to her. Some of them she had to walk further away or separate or whatever. So she would have this set of leashes where some of them were certain point, and then she had to sort out through all of this. And as soon as I got my leash for Bogey, which he loves, I thought about, I'm like, this would be so great for me to pass it on to my cousin, because her organization having a leash for each dog with a name on it, just something as simple as that can solve so many problems. Even if you have like 2 dogs at home, I've had 3 dogs at a time, and each of them had a leash. And what we used was colors, but then I never remembered what color belonged to what dog. Right. So I think it's something so simple yet so valuable that fills a white space in the business. That just happened out of your creative mind, and like talk us through a little bit about that process.
Well, the monogramming was kind of just a fun thing too. For the businesses, it was helpful because they board and train dogs, and one of my businesses sends it home, Kinship Canine. They send theirs home with a leash, which is really cool. And then just for us to tell them apart at club, because like you say, we'd have 3 purple leashes. But the idea around this entire business, and I'm glad you hit on that, was it's totally custom. So on my website, I do have fixed leash links, etc. But literally, this is I love the creativity part of it. So I've had people contact me. One of them is a leash walker, and she said, I like to have 3 extensions at the end of one leash for each dog, for these 3 dogs. And I'm like, yeah, sure. If I can do it, I'll do it.
I love the entrepreneur.
So kind of that's what I've done. I mean, I'm working on some products now that some people have brought to me and said, hey, I can't really find this anywhere. I like this material and you want to make it. And I like it. It's something that I think others could use. So that's kind of where it came from. For us, for working dogs, when the dog is running, it's super important for them not to be able to get the leash stuck in a toe or what have you, but also be long enough for us to be a certain distance away. So myself, for my own dogs, I literally measure from their collar, to their back toe. And that's how long my leash is. So literally they can be customized in any way. And that's what I hope to be able to give to customers and people who have a need.
And I love that. And I don't think that's something that we should skim over. One of the things that we see that is what makes really a successful entrepreneur is that ability to listen to the marketplace and hear what people say and ask people if something is working, if it's not, and then be open to testing new things. I love the idea of you being open to just figuring out, is there a way that I can have a leash that at the end has 3 different endings, right? Like that is really what differentiates for us a successful organization from one that just
putting out product.
Puts out product. Exactly.
Right.
So I commend you on that. That's a great idea.
And the customization, one of the things, and I think I told you this when we got, you created our leash for Luca, because he's a 10-pound dog, right? And the leash is so thin and it's light and it's not heavy. Carlos's dog Bogey is 6 pounds, 5 pounds. So, something that's not so heavy on the little guy, and being able to get that very thin leash and they don't tangle. I don't know how you made detangler leashes, but they don't tangle either. But and what, you can choose the handle, right? You can choose anything. And I think Leashes by Lori is such a, it's like in most businesses, kind of like Carlos was saying, like you wouldn't necessarily know the customization piece, but as marketers, that is something, don't you agree, Carlos, that Lori really wants to focus on in her marketing, is the fact that she's custom.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I feel like when you are marketing a product, even though you are featuring the elements or the beneficiaries of that product, which in this case is the dogs, you still have to communicate what differentiates your product, right? Like, what are the cool things about my product? And what we tend to do as product developers, because I love developing products too, is we take for granted a lot of the things that we do that people just don't think about. Right. So we think like, oh, I'm sure people will think about monogramming is really a great way for you to differentiate your leashes. Right. They don't. Right. Some of the stuff that you've brought up on the podcast, like measuring the length from the tail or from the head to the foot, like people don't think about those things. So my recommendation for you as part of your marketing strategy is to, even with your phone, creating Instagram stories, for example, that just say, here are a few things to think about, right? Like measure from here to here. And this is really why this makes sense, right? I never think about, and I walked Bogey today with a leash and he was stepping all over it. I never think about anything like that, right? That it's the measure of the leash that matters. So that's one of the elements that I feel like in order for you to have an effective marketing strategy behind this is don't assume you have so much knowledge and expertise from training dogs, from having dogs, from how you do things, and the reasons behind, which are great reasons that you have behind why you're doing this business, that is your biggest selling point. To me, I would sit there and watch those videos and be like, okay, what am I going to learn from this? What am I going to do with this leash? How am I going to do it better? Because at the end of the day, we're the ones that care about our dogs, right? They're all over the place. They just want to go pee and do their business. But we care about it, right? So like in my case, I use it with Bogey's harness, right? So I care about at what point do I put on the harness for Bogey because he likes to walk up to the elevator without it. So, anything that I can learn tidbits of is going to be super helpful. And I think the other thing that would be helpful for you and your business, and I see this a lot with social media, right? Because word of mouth is a great way. So people learning from you is going to help your business in that as they learn from these videos, they will start talking about it. Oh, I learned this from Leashes by Lori, right? And always making sure to use that, your branding in the video. So here at Leashes by Lori, we like to measure,
Even though it feels weird, Lori.
It feels weird, but you just have to say it because people have to. We constantly tell our clients that because now we have literally the attention span of a goldfish, you have to mention the name of your business up to 7 times within a week to a person for them to be able to remember your business. And the way that you do that is by not necessarily sitting there on a video and going like Leashes by Lori, Leashes by Lori,
but it
7
could be
times,
a subliminal message that could be very successful.
Well, but if you're creating videos that are useful, and then on every short videos, maybe 15 seconds at most, quick. Right? Where you're like, here at Leashes by Lori, and this is what we do at Leashes by Lori. You know, like you find different ways to just say it once in the video, then people will watch several of those videos and you will hit that target. The other thing that I was thinking of, just looking overall at your current strategy, is one of the things that people love to do on Instagram in particular, which is one of the biggest social networks, is create Instagrams for their dogs, right? So like Bogey has his own Instagram, right? Bogey the Yorkie, he has his own Instagram. But there's many dogs out there that are influencers, right? So one of the strategies that people within our marketing industry like to do, which has very little cost to you, is maybe reach out to some of these Instagrammers that have, or the dog grammars, and say, hey, we are creating these leashes. I would love to send you one with your dog's name on it, right? So instead of spending on ads or anything like that, you're spending on sending it, and you know they're going to photograph that dog with that leash on it.
And talk about it.
And talk about it, right? The other idea that I would have for you is maybe not monogram only the leash at the handle of the leash, but monogram it or put the name at the point where the leash attaches to the dog. Because when people take pictures of their dog, they take them up close, as you can see on your own Instagram.
Carlos, so really good point. Because my leash, I don't know what kind of foot we got, because Carlos and I got the same, Lori, but that, right. And I know that I don't know how you measure how do you measure where it is now? That space monogram now.
They're all, the flat and folded are about 6 inches from the top. So your hand would have enough room, and the handle, they're a couple inches below the handle.
Right. But you know what? Right. There. I wish we had a video. I wish we were in video. But to Carlos's point, when I'm walking Bogey, I'm walking Luca, sometimes I have it wrapped up in my hand. I'm like, oh, I wish people could see that it's Luca. And he's right. Somewhere in the lower part of the thing might be an alternative as an idea for people as well. That's a great idea, Carlos.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I tend to ramble when I get into marketing. So.
Oh, and we could talk about this forever. And Lori, because I believe your advantage is that you are a subject matter expert. Certainly, I've seen you around the dog training. I mean, you really are. But that is, and people, that means a lot of things, right? But to Carlos's point about going out there and just giving some educational things, and eventually it's not even going to be about leashes, right? It's going to be about something about doing something with your dog. But those things give you this level of, it's not just Leashes by Lori because you thought it was a good idea and that there was a need, but like you have value. There's value and reason why you feel, that's your story, why you felt a need for it.
Well, and I think other things that you can think of is maybe opening up customizations to other things, right, that they can do. Like if, for example, my dog is allergic to something and I want to use the leash as a medical ID type thing, right? Like I'm allergic to, in case my dog runs off, right? And someone finds it or whatever. So things like that could be just ideas that you can give people for reasons why your product would be a great fit for them, right? So by using those things on your Instagram, or when you're sending them to other people and getting that type of idea featured, again, it goes back to things that people love to do, yet they don't think about doing, right? That are benefits that your product could bring to people that are way beyond just knowing about leash length or anything like that.
And Lori, tell us about how, because I know I received one in the mail. I'm having ordered the one for Carlos as Luca gave to Bogey. Was that about asking me to do the review? How did you set up the review process? Because it's so important that people, talk about what your product. So how does that work on your website? And
yes, the website has an app attached to it that will email the customer. I believe it's within 10 to 14 days of receiving the product. So they've had a chance to use it and kind of see what they think, and they can email a review in, and it will attach to the website as well as some of my other SEO items. I did have a question for you too about SEO, because that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do the review, to attach it to my other, social media, Yelp, all of those platforms as well. So that was one of my questions, was how to, as a small business person, increase our SEO. And also, we are crazy in social media these days, but it's also very vulnerable right now. And I don't even know where to go anymore as far as I'd like to hear what your ideas would be as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. So for the small business and SEO, in particular in your industry, it is more challenging, right? Because there's so many dog businesses out there. What we've been trained lately to do is what are called long tail searches, right? And not everyone is focusing on long tail searches, right? So like, instead of saying leashes for dogs, focusing on things like what are the best leashes for dogs, right? That's a more longer tail. And what's important within SEO and what the search engines will value is the content that you're providing. Is it valuable to people, right? So the first things that the search engine takes into consideration is how fast and adaptable your website is, because the search engine wants people to have the best experience possible, right? If it loads fast, if people get to the content fast, that's great. Then how long they spend on the content. Content engagement is what SEO is all about, right? So if you write content that's really answering people's questions and making them stay and scroll, and there's tactics behind that, that's going to help with your SEO. So what are some of the tactics that people tend to use? Things like the 5 top things that you should know when buying a leash, right? That there's thing number 1 and answer number 1. Thing number 2, answer number 2, that people are going to go through it, right? And doing it as the top 5 things and a countdown from 5 to 1 will make people scroll down, because they always want to know what number 1 is.
Right.
Right? Everyone has that FOMO. I don't want to miss out on number 1, right? Even though number 1 is dumb, it doesn't matter. The good thing about reviews is we all tend to trust other people more than we trust any business. So encouraging people to review and giving incentives for people reviewing, which I've seen all sorts of incentives, right? Like get a $10 Amazon gift card, get a whatever. There's many ways to do it. Obviously, because of the type of product that you have, people are going to review it because they love it, right? They're going to give you that review, but you have to ask for it. So I love the idea that you have of sending that follow-up email, hey, would you give us a review? But I would also encourage you to think about giving people other ways to review you when they're doing that review. Like make sure to mention us on your Instagram, or send us an image and we'll get you featured on our Instagram of you using the leash. Things like that, because people, in particular, doing things like Instagram stories, where if people send you a video of their dog running on their leash and you can post it onto your Instagram and tag them, they will probably reshare that if you tag them. You have to tag them, otherwise they won't be able to reshare it. They will reshare it onto their dog's Instagram, onto their personal Instagram, and you're using that to reach more people out there. So that's one of the strategies. The other thing that I would encourage you to do is download and start using TikTok. It is the number one most, I know it's hard.
Not that scary.
See it in your face.
It's really not that scary.
It's really not that scary once you get
into it. Just befriend it.
And what you need to do is start searching for dog TikToks in there. You can literally search for the dog, Yorkie, like look for breeds, because everyone names their dog Instagrams by breed, right? So like mine is Bogey the Yorkie. That's the Instagram. So if you search for Yorkie, you will get a bunch of TikToks and Instagrams that are specifically for Yorkies, right? And then what you'll be able to see, and I'm happy to share some of these with you because I actually follow a few of them, is there's some strategies that people, there's some types of content that people are creating that are being very successful at doing TikToks. And one of them that I love is like people styling their dogs in different ways and making fun of the fact. There's one, I don't know if, well, you probably haven't seen it because you're not on TikTok yet, but they're walking you through all the outfits that their dogs would have worn out, but they couldn't because of COVID. Yeah, they couldn't because of COVID. And then they have the audio already created. So you just reuse the audio and you create the video portions to go on top of it. And it's someone that has.
And what's so great,
really
Lori, I just have to say, it's because Carlos is such an early adopter and he's so the right guy about watching TikTok. He knew TikTok around before like we ever even knew what tick was.
It used to be called Musical.ly.
A tick was a thing on a dog before Carlos.
Yeah.
Before Carlos told me about TikTok. But for us, in our generation, it really is I think the best part about TikTok is once you just look at it like you would look at your Facebook feed, you just start to get a handle on and they're short, right? Are they still what are they? 10 seconds, Carlos? 15 seconds?
16 seconds.
16.
Yeah.
So it's very short. And so it just get comfortable. Just look at what it is. And then she can do a Leashes by Lori.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But leverage what other people are doing. Yes. At the beginning in particular, don't try and get creative on your own thing. There's things that people are searching for. And the thing is, the algorithm at TikTok will surface your videos because they know that that audio is being used by other successful videos. So that's the reason why it's interesting to use audio that's already available on there, because the algorithm knows, okay, this is popular audio. Whenever we show this audio, whatever videos with it, people like and engage with, right? So I encourage you, really, that's a great place for you to come up with, because you can have the different outfits and the leash that goes with the outfit, right? So if like the dog's dressed like Santa, then there's a red leash with like the name on it is like Santa's Little Helper, things like that get a little more. You're adding on to a successful strategy that people are using out there. Going back, though, to your SEO elements, what the long tail keywords are going to be important for you. Making sure some of the simple things that people tend to miss is making sure that your URL has the keywords for whatever it is that people should be searching for, right? So if you're doing like the top 5 leashes for little dogs, right? Things that those are long tail keywords, right? In the URL, it should be your URL /top 5 things, top 5 things to know with leashes.
Leashes for your little dog.
Whatever, and always think about creating your headlines as what people would search for, right? So if you are going to do the top 5 things to know for little dogs, I would maybe think about how would people search for that? Like I have a little dog, or best leashes for little dogs, right? So you may want to say best the top 5 things for the best leashes for little dogs, right? So that best leashes for little dogs is in there in the title, so that when people search, the search engine is going to take into consideration what is the URL that these people are landing on, and are the keywords in the URL. Are those same keywords also in the headline of the article, right? Are they mentioned again within the article, right? So you don't want to do what's called keyword stuffing, which is say the same thing 300 times in an article, but you do want to make sure that it is within the first paragraph, right? So even I
was going to say, there's a lot of ways in that detail to show you when you're actually building that blog or that article that we can actually show you, lay it out. It's easy to see, don't you think, Carlos, when it's a visual, when you can see how you actually build it, correct?
Yeah, and the thing that people tend to miss out on, which is not that common knowledge. And a lot of people create articles and they just create articles, right? You have to be strategic about why you're creating the article. What is the article about? And then what pages on my website that are pages that are always there? Because articles age really fast, right? They have a published date and they age really fast. You have to use those articles to bump up the static pages on your website, the pages that are going to stay there, right? Okay. Whether it's the listing of your leashes and the way that you bump that up is by you do your first paragraph on the article, and then immediately in between the first and second paragraph, you have a call to action maybe that says, and here are our top 5 recommended leashes for small dogs. And that links to a page on your site where you have those top 5 leashes, right? That you continually refer to that every time you write an article about leashes that are the highest recommended leashes. Because that what it's doing is it's making the article tell the search engine, yeah, I'm an article and yeah, I'm super interesting right now, but this is the place where you get the actual product, right? This is where you get the solution. Because at the end of the day, and this is something that people tend to miss, Google's main purpose in life is to provide the best experience possible to a user searching for something. And the best solution is the one that's going to do the best on the search engine. So you can pay all the money that you want to optimize and whatever your SEO. What Google makes money off of, because you got to remember they're a business, is by having the reputation of being the fastest to provide the solution to the user. Right?
Right.
If all of a sudden a search engine comes out that you can search on and it gives you a better solution, a faster solution, they're going to lose their business, right? They do make money off of ads, which everybody knows, right? But if there's no searchers, there's no ads, right? If there's no addiction to searching, then there's less ads, right?
And
that's kind of what you got to think of.
What's great too, Lori, is you have so many options to grow into all these ideas, right? You have so many options to take one step at a time, whether it's starting with, because you have your Instagram. Tell us your Instagram handle so our listeners know.
At Leashes by Lori.
And Lori is the Lori.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes. Or hashtag Leashes by Lori. Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
So follow Lori. Definitely follow Lori there. And, you start with the things that you can do. And then as you get comfortable with that, you grow into the next thing, whether it's TikTok or whatever, or you start writing the articles, the expertise articles. But yeah, because I think you could own that space because of your background. It's all.
Well, and that's the thing. And you have to there's simple things that you can do. And then there's deeper things that you can do. Right. But don't try and do everything all at once. Pick some tactics to do, simple things to do, and start there and start measuring the effectiveness of them so that you learn and grow with it. It's the same as when you're starting a business, right? That you're learning from what people are telling you. This is the same sort of thing. So when I look at your Instagram, for example, yes, looking at pictures of cute dogs, super effective at getting followers. Not effective at selling your leashes if you're not showing your leashes.
Carlos, to your point, I was thinking when you were saying the person, I don't know if you draw out the triple leash that you were saying at the bottom, of the split, but you can do something as a process. You could take literally a picture of your drawing or however you do it or however you're starting to sew it and post that up there, working on a new design. So I think one of the things Carlos and I learned it a lot too as business owners for these last 6 years is, we wanted to come out with everything perfectly. We wanted to look perfect, be perfect. We wanted to be perfect. And boy, I think the thing that we've learned, Carlos, I think you'd agree is, don't worry, be crappy. Just get it out there and you start refining and getting better.
And don't be the best kept secret.
Yeah, don't be the best kept secret. So share your process. You know what I mean? Because, I think you've already got something that's magical because you're magical, Lori. Mm-hmm. We've talked so much. Do you want to say something? Because we've talked so much. I'd like to hear your voice again.
No, I am just soaking it all in. I'm telling you, because, the part that I do is just really the little part of the business, but the part that you guys are expertise in is like another whole business. So yeah. I love hearing it and learning it. I appreciate awesome. All of your tips and advice and recommendations. They're fabulous. My head's spinning.
Yeah.
And what's great, and I think you and I have talked about this offline, Lori, is that, you just wanted to do this because it felt like a really neat idea, and I think the organic growth of it, because you're not, it's not like every dollar matters. Your goal wasn't to price it to make the most money. Your goal was to price it so that it felt like a fair price to you and to the consumer, so many of those things, your heart's in the right place. And I think for our listeners, that get scared that there's not going to be enough money or I'm not going to make enough. If you keep doing your passion, and Carlos and I talk about this a lot, keep working your passion, the money comes and the customers come. Just don't try to be something, just be yourself and bring it in. And that's the beauty, I think, of
and I think that that's part of what people miss in marketing, that you can market your business because the passion that led you, if you're passionate about your business, if you built your business for passion and not just because you thought you were going to make a lot of money for it, if you show that passion to people, that's your selling point. Dana and I, when we meet with clients, we always say we're the best at closing a deal, right? Because we meet with clients and they can tell that we're passionate about helping them, about marketing their business, we're not just there to give them a bill and say, here's our retainer as an agency, right? So that's why our close rate is like 98%, right? Whenever we get on with a client, we close the business. It just happens. So it's the same thing that I would tell you. From what I see, you're doing this because you like it. You're doing this because you have a passion for it. So like all the fun things out of the business is what you need to use those fun things to market the business, because the fun part is what people will attach to, right? Whether it's like you come up with names for the leashes. Here's the ice cream lover leash. Here's the, and you use a dog to tie to that, right? Like I'm looking at this great puppy that you have on your Instagram that's so freaking gorgeous, puppy, right? So I'm like, is there like the puppy leash? Is there, like coming up with different names that people can attach to? Because
so much fun.
It's so much fun. The world of dogs is fun for us. Right.
Oh,
the products are for us. They're not really for them. So.
Well, and Carlos, what's so great? We'll have Lori back in 6 or 8 months and we'll see what the progress has been and just be able to celebrate with you. And I'm just so proud of you, Lori. Congratulations on
Congratulations. You really, really have a great product and a great sort of business track, right, to be on. So this should be very successful, especially because you're passionate about it.
I appreciate you guys so much, and thank you for having me on. I just, I can't tell you what it means to be able to talk to professionals such as you guys, and especially my cousin. She's the best, and in my book. And thank you. My mind's going, and it's going to be a great week. I can see.
Go make some more leashes, honey.
Go make more leashes.
Listen, thank you everybody for listening today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe to and share Wicked Marketing on Apple Podcasts and write an awesome review for us. We are also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Play. See you next time.